Huh. Yep. I know you saw the title of the video. Me personally, I think it's really time to have a real to really question on James Harden and his legacy, and really think about, could his legacy be in trouble? You know, when you think about James Harden, like, you know, we all know how phenomenal as a player James Harden is. But all I'm saying, man, if this thing don't work out, you know, man. So as you've seen from the title of the video, I have a lot to get into, like, as far as James Harden and pertaining to his legacy. But before I do get into it, if you a James Harden fan, or if you a 76ers fan, or just an NBA fan in general, man, hit that like button, man. It really helps the channel, and subscribe to the channel, man. And leave a comment on how do you feel about James Harden as a player. You know, do you feel like if this thing don't work out with the 76ers, is his legacy in trouble? But I'm gonna break it down onto, and this video is gonna kind of have you thinking, more about James Harden, and put into perspective, his legacy, and if things don't go right, it's just legacy tainted, if this don't work out with Philadelphia. But the pressure for me is on for James Harden, man. He's a great player, but for me, he always didn't step up in the playoffs. As we know, he's always has been phenomenal in the regular season, but not the playoffs. When I think about that, I always, like, for example, I always think about in 2015 when he checked out, in a big game, in that Clippers series. I don't know if you guys remember. They took Harden out, and I remember, like, Harden having a towel over his head, and hell, Houston almost came back without him. It just made me think back to that series as an example. It's one example of Harden just, like, seemed like quitting, like he didn't have nothing left. However, now though, it should be different. Like I just said, it should be different, because now Harden is in a situation where he's playing with a dominant center who can sort of like Harden can sort of like ride the coattails of Joel Embiid. Like I said, man, I think is shut up or put up. Like, it's time for Harden. It's no more excuses, man. You finally at a destination where you said you wanted to be, with Philadelphia. For me, over these 4 years, of him being there, it's time for him to get a title, man. It's time for him to win. It's time for Harden to win. We know all the numbers. We know how good he is in the regular season, but in the playoffs, his resume is crap. Like, his resume, like, he doesn't even have moments, in the playoffs, which I'm gonna get back to. But like I said, man, it's Harden. It's honestly, it's headed towards a path where, as time go on, and my generation talk about the memories of this current generation of the NBA, people, it might get to a point, if Harden don't win him a title or something, where he might be forgotten, if he don't win. Like, people gonna talk about Giannis, they gonna talk about the Golden State era, with Curry. They gonna obviously talk about the LeBron reign. They gonna talk about the greatness of KD. Luka might even have a championship before it's all said and done. The Joker might. And Harden, man, if he keep on, personally, he's going to be kind of an afterthought. At the end of the day, if you Harden, as we remember, you quit on Houston, you quit on Brooklyn, which is kind of funny because he tried to act like you wasn't quitting on Brooklyn, which, as we all know, had things, you know, played out, you did, you know, and then there's, you know, like I said, man, this is the team that should be able to win a title, and a team where you don't even have to be the best player. Like I said, I'm gonna circle back around to, you know, to Harden and like certain moments in the playoffs, because I was sitting down thinking to myself, I'm looking, and I was like, you know, that's funny. Like, if you think about it, Harden don't really have big moments that you can remember, you know, in the playoffs. I mean, the one that kind of came back to me was, I guess, the shot to beat the Spurs. But what, man, that was like 10 years ago. That was 10 years ago. Like, okay, but maybe you was probably thinking, okay, you know, maybe you was thinking about that big block he had on, you know, Dort in Game 7 that year. What was that, like 2 years ago or something? Like, but it's just weird. Like, when I sat back and thought about, you know, certain moments, I couldn't come up with any, you know, pertaining to James Harden in the playoffs. And Harden has been in the league for a long time, and that just goes to show you, man. Like, you know, he don't show up when the games matter. And it's time to win. He don't show up. So Harden, man, it's time, dog. Like, I'm hoping he can get it done with Philadelphia, you know, with Joel. But for him, there's no more excuses, man. I'm tired of it. There's no more excuses for it. It's no more excuses. It's time to win. You at a place you wanted to be. It's time to win. No more excuses for Harden, man. You know, because like I said, it's gonna get to a point where he gonna kind of be a afterthought. You know, he's gonna kind of be in that boat of like guys like George, the Iceman, and how, you know, the Iceman was a good, you know, scorer, but, you know, unfortunately he was never able to, you know, really have that success, you know, in the playoffs. You know, guys like Karl Malone, another guy who, if you look at his stats, had phenomenal numbers, but unfortunately was just never able to get it done. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when it came to the you know, the playoffs. So we gonna see, man. I think the timer, I think, is, you know, is slowly getting to a point where, you know, that window is gonna be over for Harden. So we gonna see, man. But if you a Sixers fan, you know, do you feel like this team can, you know, make a push to the finals and win, you know, the championship, of course? Like, you know, if you a Sixers fan, like how are you feeling? But, you know, if you love NBA content, man, if you a Sixers fan, a Harden fan, hit that like button, man. Hit the like button. So at the end of the day, I'm rooting for Harden. I want him to win, but all I'm saying is his legacy might be in danger if that never comes to fruition in the next 4 to 5 years. So, but yeah, subscribe to the channel. But that's pretty much gonna be it for me, though. Yeah.